and expression, and other character traits. My administration always believed that freedom from illegal drugs, terrorism, corruption, and criminality is itself a human right violation. Part of our efforts to uphold human rights is protection of the rights of children, the right against discrimination. Early last year, I signed Executive Order number 92, creating the National Council Against Child Labor. Government efforts to protect the rights of children will be amplified to prevent, reduce, and eliminate any form of child labor. Our achievements along this line have been extolled by an overwhelming number of fellow member states in the UN Human Rights Council during its recently held 44th session last June. Rest assured that we will not dodge our obligation to fight for human rights. My countrymen, there are lessons to be learned from the coronavirus pandemic. It jolted us to realize that gains made after spending so much planning, effort, cost, and time could diminish considerably and quickly for reasons beyond one's anticipation. That it is much easier to destroy than build. That in a crisis of national proportion that affects every aspect of human life, government needs to have the support and cooperation of the people if it is to succeed in battling the cause of that crisis. That there are people who ask for compassion but show none themselves. That life, after all, is fickle, like the weather. The gains we achieved for the first 3.5 years were put to a test when the pandemic suddenly struck the global community. While I am aware that the road toward a comfortable life would all be far easy if the pandemic had not occurred, and around the rest of the world we suffered. The global scale and socio-economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic has been unprecedented. Yet, in the throes of its global health emergency, we have been able to withstand the headwinds generated by this coronavirus. In this regard, I would like to express my gratitude to all those who made possible the steady supply of food, water, basic utilities of our households. And the provisions of basic social services and financial assistance to our people. Our profound gratitude goes to everyone who helped keep our country's food supply chain running. The valiant soldiers, policemen, and security guards who can be in our community. The dedicated personnel who kept our essential establishment operational. You showed us kindness and selflessness. You gave us strength. You risked your own lives to serve the greater good in keeping the Filipino spirit of bayanihan. I also thank the men and women of the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases and the National Task Force Against COVID-19 for all the countless hours it spent to keep the pandemic in check and for all the efforts it made to ensure the safety of our people. Let me also recognize the efforts of the local government units that stepped up and initiated their own response measures to contain effects of COVID-19 and its impact to their constituents have been impact to its constituents. The shadow says it's a period there. I know exactly the difficulties you are undergoing. I pray that the officials of each LGU in our country, from the barangay to the autonomous regions, would set aside partisan politics and selfish interests to do what is right and good for all. Likewise, I likewise issued Executive Order number 104, which imposed ceilings on retail prices of at least 133 drugs and medicines and directed a continuous review of the retail prices of others. This proved to be providential now that we are facing a pandemic. To everyone who helped us in this time of great need, maraming salamat po. Let me say that the strength of a nation rests in the hands of the people acting as one big government. In the pursuit of common goals and objectives, when the pandemic struck, I decided to prioritize life over other considerations according to experts. The intervention that the government had put in place prevented as much as 1.3 to 3.5 million infections. To me, even if the numbers were much lower, it would still be and would have been worth the sacrifice we made. Buhay muna bago lahat. We initially encountered difficulties ramping up our testing capacity. We now have 93 accredited testing laboratories nationwide, and we are aiming to conduct 1.4 million tests by end of July and ensure a quick turnaround time of 40 to 72 hours. Under the Social Amelioration Program, we allotted 2.5 billion to 2.5 billion for poor and low-income households who were affected during this pandemic, who thrive on a no work, no pay arrangement. Admittedly, our implementation of the Social Amelioration Program was not perfect, and some opportunists turned crisis into opportunity. We will catch up with you sooner than you think. We came up with the COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program, extended financial assistance to over 650,000 affected individuals in the formal sector. 110 OFWs abroad, almost 83,000 repatriated OFWs were also provided temporary wage employment. to displace marginal workers through the Tupad project. Our indigent senior citizens were also provided with a stipend for the rest of the semester of the year current year. This health emergency stretched government's resources to its limits. In response to the Office of the President, worked closely with Congress for the quick passage of the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. May I again reiterate my thanks to you, the men and women of Congress, for the effort you invested in passing that law. I hope that we can get some or the same treatment of clarity, purpose, and the fastness to support the passage of the Bayanihan Recover to Act as One, which is supplement funds for recovery and response against the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. We must facilitate the country's economic recovery. I call on Congress to fast-track the passage of the proposed measure, such as the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives Enterprises or CREATE Act. This immediately cuts the corporate income levy from the current 30 to 25% and give government flexibility to grant a combination of fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, among others. The Financial Institutions Strategic Transfer, or first step, will set up mechanisms allowing banks and other financial institutions to dispose of and transfer non-performing assets and
10
loans
minutes pala late po.
to asset management companies similar to the special purpose vehicles. Our economic managers